notion, even for a moment. There was no turning back to comfort again, only a lifetime of defeats, more or less spectacular. So I'll march on to your court dates. I'll gather court dates of my own. I'll miss the ones in prisons and the ones who never made it there. The ones who said, onward comrades to our death, with ruin on their breath, who waited centuries on their tongues. Loaded failed manifestos in their guns, as if defeat repeated often could someday mean we had won. Our history's a vacant lot, littered with empty bank accounts, sobbing parents' broken bones. Glorious songs and lengthy prison terms. A handful of moments that were truly our own. In between desperate gasping for air worth breathing and times worth living. In between desperate gasping for air worth breathing and times worth living. Came to this world a loaded handgun, firing at random, hit the people who were closest, not the ones who deserved it. And some of them still don't talk to me, can't say I blame them for a second. I'll try to aim more carefully, but it's too late for that, I reckon. But not too late for regret. I'll walk barefoot and smoke inside any chance I get. But in the meantime, come on, let's go for a ride like we used to, pistols drawn, screaming liberty or death. Although I think we wanted both somehow, but we'll take the cash instead, stack it high, my friend, till it reaches to the sky, and us and God can call it even. And look each other in the eyes like you did to the county prosecutor. Told them that you were the shooter, but they'd never take you alive. Grabbed his pen and stabbed him in the eye, ran off, never to be seen again. When they strike, hit back harder. If you can't just hit back meaner, everybody's got a name and an address and fragile bones to protect what's beating in their chest. Lash out and vanish into mist. Gumshoes can take one in the head. Same to anyone who's ever seen a cop and didn't bludgeon them to death. Same to anyone who's ever had a job and didn't hang their fucking boss off the roof at the post office. So come on, let's take a ride like we used to, daggers drawn, screaming liberty or death. Although I think we wanted both somehow. Came in this world a loaded handgun, I'll leave it empty or not at all.
Alexa, set a 5-minute timer.
5 minutes. Done.
Alexa, set a 20-minute timer.
Second timer, 20 minutes.
I'll be with you guys, or actually just myself probably, once I'm done mixing the resin here.
Apples and vegetables and shit by then. I'll breathe in more oxygen than smoke. And now I'll reference books that I haven't read, or that I read so doped up that I couldn't talk. I'll learn to like animals, even your fucking dog. be able to give you a ride to work, 'cause I sold the car
Much longer.
to
3
print
minutes.
consent
It's felt like it's been like 50.
for every high school kid in the country.
Time slows down when you mix shit.
Dig up concrete to plant vegetables across the street. Neighbors and tweakers pass by, we'll stop for something to eat. We'll set up milk crates as a free box. Then we'll get arrested by the cops. And if we fight back, then we'll get beaten and arrested on felony charges by the fucking cops. We'll lock down the gates, buses will block off the street, 'cause nothing else is worth to stop those fuckers in BP. We'll clog up the system, we'll grind streamline to a stop. Then we'll get arrested by the cops. And if we fight back, then we'll get beaten and arrested on felony charges by the fucking cops. Seize entire cities, yeah, whole regions of a country. Abolish all police, religion, private property. We've done it before, united, we cannot be stopped. Then we'll all get lined up and shot by fascists who just communists and liberals who've been waiting all along to be the fascist cops.
Holy, I'm almost fucking done. 30 seconds, alright. Thank you. Fresh.
This morning I can't tell if I'm nihilist or religious, or if there's even a difference. If God
Okay.
made the West
That should be good. There'll be some mixing done when I mix the colors. Alexa, stop. No, don't. Actually, don't do anything. Never do anything again.
My bones, it reaches all the way down to the mud.
Alexa, shut up. Alright, I need to click the advertising on my webcam so it actually will let me do webcam stuff properly. 1 minute. Otherwise you get a nice big watermark on it. Watermark from Froster's Imaginary Friends. Watermark, idiot. Alright, while I'm doing that, I'm gonna go grab the glitter.
It's
What do you do?
reason enough to go all in, to raise the stakes, to call the bluff, to burn all
Are they
the
here the ads too?
world
Apparently
down
we can't risk Mr. Dutton. Ooh, spooky.
for the things
If only politicians would actually, I don't know, campaign on their merits instead of why the other guy will be worse, huh?
of gasoline and
Oh, well.
broken glass. This morning I can't tell if I'm anarchist or religious, or if there's even a difference.
Okay, one more little commercial, probably telling you why one guy sucks above the other instead of telling me why you think that'd be what happened. And then I can turn the camera on. What have you? Wouldn't that be fun? You know, the craft is an actual camera. That kind of cool.
There's a spark that's
Anything that I'll probably
in
put
your
it
eyes, it catches
It's fine.
flame, and it burns all through my blood.
me get that hooked up.
2, 3, 4, 1.
Using the very fancy method of just tying
I
a
skipped
phone
class
to my
with the
leg.
number 5 bus all the way east just to see where it ends. Smoke a cigarette at Udall Station. Got back on the bus again. We've been this way since. You met me, heart's not heavy but empty. And once the socket raised me up, and now there's nothing, so I stumbled home a broken man. Blood on my hands, dead on my feet. Shut down where I stand. With blood on my hands, dead on my feet. Shut where I stand. Freedom is beautiful and terrible. It's nothing soft and sweet. It's used bullets on the sidewalk, fires across the street. It's you moving in with your new boyfriend in Oakland. It's a pack of wild dogs on a road without a street lamp. It's roaches in the bathroom, mice in the kitchen, and no one left to blame for the way I've been living. It's mice in the kitchen, roaches in the bathroom, no one left to blame.
Let's double check I've
I
got that
woke
right.
up late in this class again, and so I brewed a pot of coffee and went back to bed. Stashed some bread, selling junk from the back of the shed. Off the fence, cause the front's being washed by the fence. And we've been this way since. We've been alive, reckless and shy, so I set fire to the house and took off running. I hope that you won't mind.
Yeah, close
I
enough.
burned down the house to get myself out of this hell alive. I burned down the house to get myself out. I hope you don't mind. Freedom is nothing soft and sweet. It's beautiful and terrible. It's admitting everything that I don't want anyone to know. It's telling people that I love I stole from them when they weren't looking. It's fucking up so many times they won't pick up when I call them. It's watching people die cause they got back in it and knowing that I don't have any say in it. It's watching people die knowing I don't get any say.
Did I even remember to get the glitter? I did. Alright, cool. So this will be the black. Oh my god, how long does this commercial go for? Please stop. I just wanna use the camera without the watermark on it, please.
I lay down an awful wreck, pissing out my window and smoking in bed. The good don't die young, they just haven't had time to fuck up the same as the rest of us yet. I want nothing, nothing at all. I'd be driving drunk if I still got drunk. Rev the ignition straight onto oblivion, into a void as pure as they come. But if we aren't dead yet, then let's not live as ghosts. And if we aren't in jail, then we can leave the house. And
Let's
I'll show
switch
you
to
that
something a
there's
bit
reason to
more
hope in
casual
the
for
spray
listeners.
paint that's all
Yes, that'd be
over
cool.
downtown. So let's fill up our shopping carts with the things we need and just roll out the front door, past the cashiers and security guards. Whoa, and the magnets.
Alright, good enough for me. Alright, so I'm going to be trying to make some more galaxy dice again, this time using a few different colors than last time, and I need a little dropper picker thingy. One sec. One sec. I've never used this block before, so I need to poke open the thingy with my stuff. I can barely remember how this stream works. I didn't do it for one day, and now I've forgotten entirely what my computer looks like. But yeah, you got these little pin things. It's just a needle inside a little cap, but you just, for the first time doing this, you just kind of plop it down to open the thing. And you hope you don't bend the whole thing sideways like I just did. And now it's open. That's just to prevent it drying out in transit, probably. I imagine these alcohol inks, these alcohol inks don't necessarily travel too well, so I imagine that's why they do that. I've had this resin mixed up for the last 12 minutes or so. Sometime in the next 5, 6, 7 minutes we want to start pouring stuff, so I'm going to start putting this into different stuff. So first of all, I want black to be the main color, which means this will probably want to be at about 30 or 40 mils, because I think that would make it the majority color. And then I want to mix the other 2 or 3 colors to, like, this one's inside out, but I want to mix the other 2 or 3 colors to about 10, 20, something like that. I think that works out to be correct. And if it doesn't, I'll just re-pour it. I don't have to be correct on the math here. The only time I had to be correct on math is when I started. And we're just going to ignore that this cup has a bunch of chunks in it. That's totally normal. Oh, everyone always has chunks. What do you mean? Alright. Make this 20. I think I might have... Yeah, no, I very vastly mismeasured what everything would need. Let's mix this one up to 10. Oh, at least that much. How much? A bit more. This one actually doesn't need that much, so that's probably actually fine. The one we really need to have a lot is this one at the front. The other ones can kind of deal with what they get. Okay, so first of all, so I don't get resin on everything, I need more sticks. I need more sticks. I need more sticks. You might have, if you're observant, realized I needed more sticks. So what we're going to do is we're going to pour black first, and black will also have this nice glitter in it. So, oh god, that one had resin on it. Black is going to be the main kind of thing that makes this look a bit like a galaxy, so we're going to want to put some glitter in there as well. The glitter tends to go quite well with the black because it contrasts so much. You'd think it'd be the opposite. You'd think you'd want to put it into the transparent colors, but it actually works really quite well in the black itself. So, and that's what we're going to do. We just mix, mixer, pepper, pepper, pepper. And you can see here how it gets that kind of like holographic, multicolor swirl to it. So then we want to put, I have no idea how many drops, but I'm assuming the black's quite strong. Let's try 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I may put 6 or 7 in there, I can't quite tell because it dropped out a bit faster than I thought it would. But we're going to say that was 6 or 7, let's say 7 for myself since I'm the one that's going to have to look back at this. And let's see if we mixed a nice black in just a second, shall we? Yeah, it's pretty good. And see how now, I don't know if you'll be able to, but see how the glitter now really stands out? It's like kind of got that space vibe to it. That's one of the really great things about using a natural black. Like, it really lets those glitters pop out, and those should pop out through the other colors too if they're weak enough. Now I just need to figure out which one of these had the least resin and which had the most. This one has the least, so this will be the clouds, and these two should be about equal in whatever. So the way we're doing this is we're doing Margarita as the main secondary color, which I definitely wrote down how much to put in. The amount I was going to put in was somewhere between 4 and 6. And then the pink, which is like, ow, 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 ow. I've got a cut on my hand there, so I can't really open things with too much force. One sec. I managed to slice a, what do you even call it, a scalpel down my hand pretty badly the other day. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oop, I guess it's 7. 7 margaritas. I could do with 7 margaritas right now. But yeah, you might not be able to see it, but I've got this huge cut down my finger, it goes all the way from here to here. Managed to completely slice the entire broad rim of a scalpel into myself. Very smart move, smooth moves, very majestic. Okay, here is the margarita we've just mixed, which you may note is quite a pink looking thing. It does get a bit redder over time. I am a little worried looking at it now that my pink might be the wrong color to have chosen to do with this, and I may switch that for purple. I'm going to switch that for purple. One sec. Last time I used this violet it wasn't very strong, but thankfully because of these streams I've been able to write down how much I used. So I used only 1 drop of violet, did I? Oh, no wonder it was too weak, idiot. We will use more violet. But yeah, I was going to use a pink as well, but I'm now thinking that for these dice, those colors are just going to be too similar. So let's do a purple. 1, 2, 3, I think at minimum you want to have 4. Even though this is half the amount that I'm been making for dice on stream lately, the amount of drops you use between smaller amounts tend to remain vaguely the same. Yes, they will be a bit darker and lighter, but for the most part, quite frankly, you might as well keep the same ratios unless you're suddenly using like a fuck ton. And if you're using a fuck ton, you've probably got some sort of industrial machine instead of your hands, so you probably don't have to worry about the measurements too much anyway. Yeah, 4 looks good. I'm even going to do a 5th. Note to self, I did 5 drops of violet, not purple. The color is violet. You know, Willy Wonka, violet, you're turning violet, alright? Alright. But yeah, the only one that'll have glitter in it will be the actual black, and the rest just relying on the idea that they'll kind of be against the black as a backdrop. Okay, final color is a sapphire blue. This is one of my fancy pinata colors. Very strong, very pretty. Should probably be in the clear resin, not recoloring one I've already got. And that's going to be like 3 or 4 drops. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops, that was 5 I think. Should have been 4 probably, but doesn't super matter. This one is going to be used to make clouds, so the other thing we're going to do is we're going to actually mix this with the heavier Blanco white. This is what everyone I know that I learned how to make dice from uses to make their clouds, so it's what I use too. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's also very good. I can show you here. If you want to make like petri dish dice, it's very good for those petri dish dice. If I were to put colors on this, they'd develop little cells, and then you could pour it like that, and it would come out in the dice in that orientation. Very, very pretty stuff. I've got some tie dice at my shop, I think I called them, and they demonstrate that technique quite well. So yeah, we're just going to mix that blue up. We might even put a little bit more white in it. Let's see how it looks first, though. That looks alright. I might put 1 more drop of white in. Just the 1. There you go. It'll look a little green while we're mixing. I promise you it's not green when it's done. A lot of blues just look green before they cure. Probably something to do with the fact that they have to deal with heat, and colors can lose color in the heat. So I bet you there's like some extra stuff in there to, you know, kind of burn off while things are solidifying. Or not. They're not really made for resin, are they? They're made for painting with alcohol inks, aren't they? Alexa, shut up! Thank you, wrong Alexa device. I appreciate it. Alright, so that's my cue that we should start actually getting the molds ready. So, we've got our white clouds, which we'll suck a little bit up with a pipette so we're ready to go when we start. We have the purple, which we won't bother, sorry, it's not purple, it's black, which we won't bother doing today in a pipette. We have our Senorita Margarita, which honestly could probably use a bit more color. I don't remember how many I put in though, so if I change that I won't be able to make a note to myself, and the point of these streams is just to be able to make notes to myself, so I might leave that for now. It's still pretty pink, you can see it's pink there. One of the things I need to do, because all my cups are white, you can't get in clear cups in Australia for the life of me. We're just scared of plastic now. So I've got to like wait until they're actually in the pipettes to know what color they're going to be. Otherwise I'm just kind of guessing because they're on a white background, so sometimes they come out clearer than you think because they're on a white background the whole time. It's very frustrating. Alright, let's get some of these molds down. I have my main master mold here, which has one dice that I shouldn't be using, which is this one here, which I'm going to put on the right. The reason you don't want to use that dice is it's actually broken. All the numbers flew off. Very, very unfortunate. Just an error with the orientation of the dice. The numbers were too small, and that meant when I was actually pulling the dice out after the first cast, a couple of them ripped off. But that's okay. We have that same dice over here in this mold, so we're all good. No one's going to die over it. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the molds I'm most likely to use with the lids right here on the right, so I can pour resin on the lids, and then we're going to get started. So first of all, just fill everything up about a third of the way with the black. And I don't have a good way of really knowing when I'm a third of the way, so I just kind of wing it. I want these dice to have a fair bit of this black. The other colours are going to obviously be kind of the star in it, but I've been under-pouring the last couple of sets. And I just want to make sure I do actually have enough in here. Especially in the D20s. The D20s especially, I just haven't had enough in. But because I've got less resin than normal, I'm not going to try to overdo it to start with. I can always come back with some of the black if I think I've underdone it. And now I want to make sure everything actually gets some black at minimum, because I'm used to having more resin for making mistakes than I do today. Especially that D6 might not be completely filled up. Yeah, I'm glad I did decide to do this, because I think I would have run out of black if I made them quite as big as I was going to before. Which is fine, it just means some dice will have variations. That's a cool thing that actually sometimes looks better. Yeah, all of the rest of that black can go in there. I was hoping to use some of the black for the lid, but I guess that won't be happening, huh? Oh well. Hey, it's the dream wall. I love the dream wall. Now we're going to put a bit of mylar in each one, because all of the current dice I've been doing are galaxy themed, and mylar just makes galaxies look more galaxy-like. Nothing wrong with a nice piece of mylar in a transparent dice. It always makes it look great. It's that kind of thing that people always wonder how you get that really sparkly inside, and it's just this. You just get some crumpled up foil, and you put it in like this, and it comes out great every time. Sometimes it can cause a bubble at the top, so what I would recommend is when you put mylar in, give it a bit of a wiggle around. We won't need to realistically do that on purpose today, because the process of making the rest of this dice will just wiggle them around by default. So that'll be fine. And I'm hoping we have enough resin this time. I have that extra mold on the right, just in case I have extra resin, but I'm not sure that I will, based on how much I've used so far. It's kind of a shame. I was hoping to make a D6 set out of this as well, but I'm trying to use a bit less resin, because my last couple of casts I've gone through like half of what I had left, and I should probably leave some for doing new shit, right? I'm just putting some extra mylar on some of the bigger dice. I usually advise against doing this, but I feel like it today. Alright, that's enough there. So now we're going to start putting the purple in a bunch of dice. And there's nothing really fancy about this, it's just chuck some purple in. Try to get all the way down to the bottom if you can, because you're trying to make it mix, and if you just put it on the top, it might just meld instead. And you're not trying to get the colors to blend necessarily. You're trying to push up that color from underneath, so that they have like little clouds and wisps inside. And you won't get that if you just pour a bunch of resin on top. Technically, you could just do this, and because it's such a small amount of resin in a dropper, it probably would work to some extent. But then you'll get like harder, harsher lines between the colors, when really you want like a soft transition. And for once on a stream, I'll actually get to do this with the appropriate amount of time, because I'm not trying to do an extra like 24 dice on top of what I'm doing. So I actually have the time to make sure I have the kind of swirls and colors I would like, which is a much different feeling to normal. Alright, how much time do I have? Alexa, set a 15-minute timer.
15 minutes, starting now.
Alright, unfortunately my Alexa device is an asshole, and even though I asked it to set a 20-minute timer, it didn't. I'm going to assume that during my prattling and talking that I spent 5 minutes or a little bit more, and we're just going to have to guess that to be the correct time. It's unfortunate that it's like that. I'm just going to pour resin in that one because that one was quite empty. It's unfortunate that it has to be like that, but sometimes that's just the way things be, right? Usually I would actually set like a pre-timer where it sets all 4 or 5 timers at once, but when I'm on stream it seems to make more sense to not do that, just in case I want to change the timer halfway through or something. You know, when I'm at home it's not as big a deal, but I am definitely more distracted doing it this way than any other way I normally make dice. So, generally a good thing to have a bit of control over that, I think. Alright, let's get the blue in. Oh, the blue looks quite bright. Oh shit, no, the blue's for the clouds. That's dumb. Oops. That's okay. In fact, that might be a good way of doing it. That actually came out pretty good. I might decide to put the clouds in early this time. That actually looks pretty cool. One sec. And then I'll put the pink in last. I think that'll actually be pretty neat. I'm gonna do that. Why not? Let's try something new. Usually I'd recommend putting the clouds in last so you have the most control possible over them, but I kind of like the way they spread out just then, so I'm going to completely go against my own advice. Which you'll see me do very often. I'm very much a do as I say, not as I do kind of guy. I know the right thing to do, I just don't do it that often. There we go. And one thing I'm not necessarily doing, which isn't a part of that, is you really should wait to squeeze the clouds until you're actually touching the bottom of the dice face to make sure the clouds kind of come up from the bottom instead of just wherever. I haven't done that, so I guess that's not what we're doing, huh? This is good though. This means if I overdo the clouds, the pink will actually make up for it a bit. This might actually turn out quite well in that regard. What is this? Ether Foundation? No, this is from one of the side games, I think, right? Okay, that dice is severely underfilled. I'm gonna have to deal with that one later. There we go. And there we go. That's all the clouds and all the dice. But you might be able to see over here why I might want to have the blue like this. Like, I think that came out pretty cool. So now I'm just going to inject the dice with as much pink as I've got, just over and over and over again. No particular style to it. The clouds are already in, so I'm hoping this actually will spread them out a bit in a cool way. Maybe make it a bit more nebulous and a bit less cloud-like. That'd be pretty cool. And there are a couple of dice that I'm just putting more in than others because some of the dice are less filled than others. If I have pink left over, that's the color I most want to put the mold caps as well if I can. And if I've got any color left after doing the mold caps, that is when we'll decide to put any in the dump mold if we have anything left over. It does look like we're going to be pretty close on materials, so I'm not anticipating to be able to use the dump mold today, but I've been wrong before. I generally am wrong. Let's get as much of this pink into everything we can as possible, and then we'll look at our colors and decide if we have any sort of overflow we can use for anything cool, right? Okay. And if that blue was a mistake, so be it. That's okay. But yeah, don't be afraid to overfill your dice or anything like that. The overfill will just help you avoid bubbles when you cast them anyway. So feel free to, like, you know, go over. Sometimes if resin spills out the top, it also makes the colors spread out a bit, which makes them more dynamic. You know, there's only so much room in a resin mold, obviously, to be doing stuff. So if you can have it flow out a bit and, like, kind of use that extra canvas space, oftentimes it comes out pretty well. Oftentimes we'll be happy that it overflowed, not sad. It seems like I am going to have trouble with the amount of resin I have left. That's unfortunate. I should have, I guess, overmixed some. I haven't done a half cast in quite some time, so I just wasn't quite sure how much to use. So what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of pour this on as many dice as possible. especially in... Oh gosh, that dice isn't even full, yeah. I was gonna say especially on the other set, but it seems like all my pink's gonna get used for that. Oh, I have some purple left. Oh, that's fine then. Let's just sprinkle some purple on the top of all of these, that'd be great. And that'll help the mix feel a bit more mixed too, so I think that'll work out. That's fine. That's really lucky I had purple left. I hope I didn't skip purple by accident at some point during this process. I don't think I did. Because I seem to have a fair bit of purple left is the only thing. Oh, that's great, that's great. That's much better than only having the blue left. That would have kind of hurt the tops of the dice a little bit. So I'm glad to see. You love to see it. Okay, you may not be able to see this, but the next thing I'm going to be doing is putting leftover purple resin on the lids of both of these dice sets. The reason for that is to A, break up some surface tension, and B, to make sure bubbles don't necessarily form on the numbers on the top sides, which is somewhere where if you're going to get bubbles, they're probably going to be in the numbers on the cap. So if there's ever a place you want to kind of avoid that, it's right there. And you can just put as much resin as you want on these. The only reason I'm using the dropper is it seems like I'll get more resin out if I do. There we go. And you can use the cloud resin as well. It's not going to hurt your dice. It's just going to mean some of the dice have a bit more of a opaque cap if you're using something like this. So I want to at least have a mix of these two resins here, right? I'm going to put some of that on here as well, because I do want to make up some resin volume. And then, if you're not me and you're smart, you don't use your finger for this part. Using your finger for this part is super stupid, and anyone who does it is a complete dolt. But I ran out of gloves a while ago, and I am flat freaking broke. If you want to buy some dice so I can afford gloves, please feel free. I would love to use gloves, but I am super broke. So, here's what it is. Safety's for the rich, I guess. Alright, so these are covered. They don't have to be covered in any sort of special way, just enough. Now I'm gonna get a lighter. I probably shouldn't let these sit for too long, but I'm actually ahead of time, because instead of making 4 sets of dice, which I usually do, I'm only making 2. So I do have some time to spare, where I can let the resin sit a little tiny bit, and I can also maybe run a lighter across where the bubbles are. And what I'm doing now is I don't have any particular plan here. I'm just pouring whatever leftover resin I have into these molds so that in the future I'll be able to make some multicolored dice out of them. The idea is, over a whole bunch of casts, eventually it'll get a bunch of cool colors, and then the dice that are in these casts will probably look cool themselves, right? These will go in the pressure pot with everything else. They won't need the lid or anything for obvious reasons, but yeah, if you don't want to waste just those little leftover bits of resin, I can really recommend the idea of just choosing a couple of molds, dumping whatever you got left in. What you make out of them will probably look good. Just get that pink going, and that can just get chunked in there as well. And yeah, obviously these won't make dice today, but, you know, in about a week or 2 when I've done a whole bunch of other casts, they'll probably be some of my coolest stuff. Alright, I need to grab a lighter. Alright, so with the lighter, all you're trying to do is remove the surface tension of the bubbles. Just a quick thing like that. Don't do what I did in the other stream and set your mold on fire because it's full of alcohol ink. Obviously that's dumb. But this will just help any of those bubbles that might not get compressed have the best chance of being clear at the end. And whether you can see it or not, I'm doing the same thing to the lids of the molds, just so any bubbles that did manage to get stuck into some numbers are good too. And I am going to switch those around a bit more because I can see parts where that's kind of fallen off the faces. Again, don't touch resin, don't be an idiot, but I'm gonna. And hopefully when I leave the room this time, my molds aren't on fire. Alrighty, I haven't had time the last few streams, but it seems like this stream I might have time to go to the pressure pot as well, so we'll see how that goes. Oh my god, I just realized I filled up the... Oh, no wonder I didn't have enough. Oh well. Crap, which way do these go on? I'm trying to remember which way I had this set. Where is the... doohickey dice? That one, right? No it isn't. No. Yeah, I think it's this way. This is probably right. Nope, it's not. Oh shit. Must be this one then, right? Yeah, there we go. So you just roll that on how you can, and try not to put too much pressure on it, but enough to make sure resin leaks out the sides, because you don't want a gap in the mold. So you're just kind of carefully doing this. Pushing down, making sure there isn't a gap in the molds. And then you're about done. And then if you see any bubbles at the end here, like I do, try to push them out. Because we're using a pressure pot, you're probably not going to have too much of an issue. But, you know, better safe than sorry. Alright. This one should be much easier to put on. It's much more obvious where the registration marks are. I say as it's harder. There we go. We're pushing down, and again, just try not to push down too much, just enough so that there isn't a gap between the first part of the mold and the second part. The last thing you want is like a severe raised face. Those can be quite problematic. And if you have thinner molds, I really recommend figuring out how to roll the lids on instead of pushing them down like I am. This is something you can do because I'm using thicker molds where the weight of the mold itself will push stuff down. But if you're using like molds from Temu or AliExpress or something like that, or you go into those cheap ones on eBay, you really want to make sure you're just placing it down, putting your fingers around like that, and then pushing to one side, because that won't have the same even pressure that this kind of mold will. Alright? So, I'm going to put these on my thingy-majiggy-miggy. All three of them, including the half-finished one. And one thing you can do, if you've got all this resin left over in the bottom here, right? There's nothing actually stopping you from just grabbing your stick and letting some of that go in. Like I got a piece of mylar on that one, that'll look pretty. But yeah, you know, if you just, you know, don't mind having some spare dice, or you're just trying to make a D4 set, having a dump mold is a great way to make sure, you know, you're just not wasting shit. Like you see this, I've almost actually managed to get 2 real sets of dice out of this. In fact, I want to make sure I don't accidentally fill these dice up to the top. I didn't think that was going to be a concern earlier, but if I do fill the dice up to the top, that means I'll get raised faces when I try to finish them off. There we go, we got 3 dice out of that. Isn't that cool? And we'll just cap those off next time we make dice, and they'll look like cool, unique dice. I'm gonna go to the pressure pot. I can't super be bothered actually bringing you guys with me, so I'm just gonna click on the closing scene thing, and I'll come back in a bit to give myself some notes or whatever. Okay, so I think these dice are going to turn out well. So I have some notes for myself. You ready, buddy boy? One is that you need to really make sure you remember that you used the lilac purple, violet purple, instead of the pink. That turned out to be something you didn't really want to do. The blue clouds you put in second to last. You did the clouds before the last step, which is different to normal, which I think will be cool. And if the clouds spread out, you should start doing that more often to avoid just clumps of that color and avoid having that color left over to clump at the end. The amount of resin that you had was enough. I would prefer to have had a slight bit more for doing D4 dice, but the only reason we thought we didn't have any more before when I was complaining was just because I ignored the fact that I had a bunch of purple left. Otherwise, I think this went well. I don't remember the drops, so you're going to have to go back in the video and write down how many drops of each you used. But I do think this will be a good secondary set of galaxy dice, so that you have one that's pink based and one that's more like this with hopefully blue clouds and swirls. I think this will turn out. I think these will be cool. And for people that aren't me listening to myself, I'm going to go wash these chemicals I spread all over my hands off of them before I accidentally eat them. And then I think I'm going to play some Rimworld Anomaly. So anyone who likes war crimes, Rimworld, and some idiot trying to remember where menus are, that's what I'm going to be doing next. Because I've got 24 hours to myself now that I made the dice, right? Anyway, if you buy any dice you see on streams, I'm going to start saying this in the streams. Make sure you go to arcaneoutback.com/shop or arcaneoutback.etsy or whatever Etsy stuff is. I'm on Etsy and have my own website. Going to see a bunch of dice I have. Here are all the dice I have. I've got more than this, but yeah, I make a lot of fucking dice. I make dice. I'm a dice guy. Anyway, bye-bye.